Hi, welcome to another episode of Bethany Talks About Stuff. I am your host, Bethany F. DeVores, and today I have my guest, Tim Callahan. Say hello.
Hello, how's it going?
Tim and I used to be on a podcast together called the Dragon's Rocket Ship Podcast, and there was a group of us, and we would all talk about pop culture, geeky stuff. It was actually a group of sci-fi fantasy writers, and I think we started off saying we were going to talk about writing, and it kind of dovetailed into like pop culture and movies and video games and stuff. So, yeah. So, so here we are. Tim, do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, my name's Tim Callahan. I live in the city of Philadelphia, from Pennsylvania. So if you hear weird accent, that's what that is. I've known Beth for a while now. We were Facebook friends and then became friends in real life. Well, virtual real life. So yeah, I'm pretty versed in pop culture, mostly superheroes, which I know is what we're going to talk about today. So it's kind of like I started collecting comics when I was 14 years old, and I collected them for like 10 years before I stopped because of money.
Right.
But I always kept up with the characters and what was going on, and I'm super excited about the MCU. Like I can't even tell you how happy I am about the success of that. The people are finally figuring out why I fell in love with it.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. I can see that. So, so Tim is on here today to talk about comic book movie adaptations. And so I gave the topic we were going to pick our favorite 5 and then our worst 5, our least favorite, or the ones we hate. I'm going to let you go first, if that's okay. You're the guest.
Sure. Now, I'm going to say these are in no particular order. Though, okay, the particular order is the ones that popped into my head.
Gotcha.
As I was writing them down. So the first one I have on my list is Captain America: Winter Soldier.
I almost made my top 5.
Almost made the top 5, which I think is not only the perfect Captain America movie, but it's just the perfect superhero movie.
I mean,
Most of the movies I have, a couple of the movies I have on here, I think if superheroes weren't involved, it would still be a pretty damn good movie.
Yeah.
And Captain America: Winter Soldier, I think, is one of those movies where the plot could fit pretty much anywhere, still be good. It just happens to be a Captain America movie.
That movie was just fantastic. I mean, I think there were like no wrong steps there. This is like Captain America at his best, in my opinion, in the MCU. So I'm just like, that is just absolutely one of my favorites. It really did almost make my top 5. I struggled.
It's weird because I don't want to say I didn't like First Avenger. I liked it a lot, but it didn't really impress me too much. I left it going, that was pretty good, but I had no desire to see it again. When I got done watching Captain America: Winter Soldier, I left the theater and I went, I gotta see this movie again.
Yeah, that's a pretty good standard.
And then the next week I went back to the theater, and actually might have been the next couple of weeks, but once everything died down, it wasn't like as crowded. I went back and I watched it again, and I still loved it the second time. As a comic book reader, I knew the Winter Soldier story, so I knew he was Bucky, and I knew he was the Winter Soldier. What I found interesting was when I went to the theater and Bucky was revealed as the Winter Soldier, you hear like the gasps from the people in the audience. And I remember looking around going, "Oh, you guys don't read comics."
I am that person. I'm like, I was surprised only a little bit. Captain America: The Winter Soldier is an example of how spoilers suck. I like to be very clear if I'm going to share spoilers, particularly something that's fairly new. But that was one I kind of heard a spoiler and I'm like, oh no, that can't be true. And then when I saw it, I was like, oh, that was a spoiler. I was hoping it was wrong, just because I didn't want it to be spoiled.
But here's the thing that another thing that made it like a genius movie by the Russo brothers, and that was a surprise. But what really surprised me was Hydra had taken over S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yeah, I didn't see that coming.
That was completely made up for the movie. Or at least I don't think it was in the comics. I said I got a little backtrack with comics, but that was not in any comic that I had read. So to find out Hydra had infiltrated S.H.I.E.L.D. and then S.H.I.E.L.D. had to disable, and I was a big fan of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. as well. So this took place in the second season, or maybe the first season of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., and then they played with it until for a couple seasons. I just didn't see that coming at all.
I was watching, so I have been trying to catch up Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I'm super far behind, but I actually have started it twice because I started it, I think I got to like the 4th season, and then I had a big break, and then I couldn't remember anything, so I had to start it over. And I'm actually at the point where if I was going to watch Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. now, I would probably have to start it over again. But I thought they did a good job of tying in The Winter
Yeah,
Soldier. That was really one of Marvel's best. I totally
yeah. And, I
agree.
mean, it really was. It also changed the Marvel universe because Shield was no longer around, and even in the comic books, Shield is kind of always this big crutch. They're always going to come in to help these heroes out, and they weren't there anymore. And yeah, I mean, that was a big surprise to me. Was Shield no longer existed at the end of Winter Soldier? So I knew the Bucky one, but I had no idea about the Shield one. And plus, it's just a great movie.
It is.
You know,
It really is.
it is.
If you haven't seen that movie, you really need to see it. Please do
Absolutely,
see
check
it.
it out. So that's my first movie. Again, in no particular order. But that's my first movie.
So, but that's not like, since is the first one to your mind, you wouldn't say that's your number one.
It's my number one. It's weird. I got another Marvel movie, which I think is my favorite, but I don't think it's the best. If that makes sense.
Oh, yeah, that's fair.
So yeah, that's my first one.
Awesome. Concur. Mine
Okay.
are in a particular order. So I'm going to actually start with the last and work up to my favorite.
That's cool.
So number 5 on my list was Wonder Woman.
Oh, can't complain. Great
So
movie.
like Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman really exceeded my expectations. And you have to remember, I grew up watching Linda Carter as Wonder Woman.
Right.
Loved her so much, and I just wanted to be Wonder Woman so bad. So I was real nervous about the new Wonder Woman, and frankly, and this is, you may or may not agree with me on this one, but I think the DC cinematic universe has just been so far outpaced by Marvel that I was really I was terrified, like, please don't mess up Wonder Woman. I love her. And they did a really great job. I mean, the pacing was good. She was great. The mascara was awesome. I mean, was it a perfect movie? No. I still have some complaints or issues, I should say. But overall, I really, really enjoyed that movie. So that was number 5.
Yeah, I was looking forward to that after I saw her in Batman v Superman. I was like, yeah, I really like, because that was the first time you saw.
Yes.
Yeah, I was wondering. I was like, yeah, really. First of all, she also has the most amazing theme since Superman. I think.
Yes,
The
absolutely.
Wonder Woman theme is just, as soon as it kicks in, you just get pumped up. It's just an amazing.
Yes, and I will tell you, Wonder Woman in Batman versus Superman was just phenomenal. And I saw that in the theater. The whole movie had just been super quiet. And then when she showed up, and we're talking about close to the end of the movie, is the first time the whole audience went like, yeah!
That was a great scene.
It was awesome.
Batman looks like he's going to be destroyed, and you hear that music kick in.
Yep.
She jumps in front of her with a shield, and yeah, that was a great movie. And I mean, yeah, Wonder Woman was a really fun movie. I enjoyed it quite a bit.
And I didn't
And it's
mind.
another one of those ones where if it comes on TV, I'll definitely watch a little bit of it, maybe even until the end if it's closer to the end. Although, some of the things that were wrong, I thought the ending was a little too busy with the God of War stuff like that.
The misdirection of this isn't really Ares and this guy is.
Yeah.
That didn't work as well for me. And then the fact that she defeats him with love was a little cliched.
The first Wonder Woman movie is a fantastic.
It was awesome.
Liked it a lot.
Okay, so let's get your next one.
This one, I'm not sure if you've seen or not. But my next one is Scott Pilgrim versus the World.
No, I haven't. And I've heard a lot of good things about it.
It is. The 10th anniversary actually came up, and I really want to go see it. You know what the basic plot of Scott Pilgrim is? It's basically Scott is a loser. He's just a slacker, and he meets this woman Ramona who is just moved into town, and he falls in love with her, and then he has to fight her 7 evil exes.
Yeah, I did kind of hear this. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's about Scott growing up, becoming from a boy to a man. Ramona, just growing in herself because she's embarrassed. She has this past that she's trying to get away from. But the 7 evil exes are Chris Evans is in it.
I knew Chris Evans played a bad guy in that.
He's one of them. He plays oh shoot, I forgot his name, but he's great. He's fantastic. He's only in it for like 10 minutes, but he steals the show. Brandon Roth, who obviously Superman, he plays a vegan who gets superpowers because he's a vegan.
No way.
Yeah, who like Mae Whitman, who she is.
No, her I don't know.
Okay, you ever watch Arrested Development?
No.
You watch Good Girls? She's great. She plays like I said, they're evil exes, not evil boyfriends, which is pointed out quite often in the movie, and she's one of the evil exes. Um, it's directed by Edgar Wright, who did a lot of the movies with um he did a lot of the movies like Shaun of the Dead, Hot Fuzz.
Okay.
Those movies he directed those, and he says it is a weird movie, very strange. He's got like musical interludes. You got the fight scenes come or direct straight out of like video game fight scenes where they're about ready to fight. You hear fight, and you see the verses pop up on the screen. They just go at it with each other. Scott Pilgrim gets beat up and doesn't really ever really get hurt, but he gets beat up a lot. Each fight, there's actually 6 fights because even though there's 7 evil exes, two of them were twins.
Oh, okay.
She dated twins basically, so they fight Scott at the same time, and it's got fantastic music. You want to talk about great music? I think John Byrne from Talking Heads wrote some of the stuff for it.
Really?
So it's got a lot of music. It's got some musical interludes. It's got great fights. Michael Cera is Scott Pilgrim, and I know you know who Michael Cera is, right?
Probably.
Arrested Development again. He's in Arrested Development.
You said he plays Scott Pilgrim.
He plays Scott Pilgrim.
Okay, yeah. So that's actually probably where I know him from, even though I haven't seen the movie. Like I know that actor from being Scott Pilgrim. So
right. If you see him, you'd recognize him. He actually did quite a few other stuff, but he plays Scott. I can't say enough that I absolutely love this movie. It was one of those movies where I left the theater. I said to myself, "Yep, that's going to be a favorite. I'm going to be watching this one for a long time. I'm going to buy it off a video, and it comes from a comic. The comic is a lot different than the movie because the movie was actually finished before the comic was.
Oh, really?
It's 7 books, but they're like manga form. Even though they're not manga, they're like in a manga format. I read all those, so I got like really obsessed.
So, like, was each one like for the different X? Like each book was the different X.
Right, exactly.
Okay.
Each book had a different X in it, and it's the same as the movie, except it digs a lot deeper into Scott Pilgrim and the world around him. But yeah, I mean, if you haven't seen it, I'd highly recommend it. It's one of my favorite movies of all time.
I was actually looking around for like a pen so I could write that down, but I'm recording it, so I guess I can look at it.
So yeah, I mean, I think it's definitely got a cult following. It didn't do very good when it was released. It definitely has a cult following now, and like I said, it's just one of my favorite movies. And it came from a comic book, so it fits the list.
It does. Well, like so today, when we were kind of back and forth via message, like, Messenger, like, let's do this or talk about that. I was like, are we counting graphic novels? And he's like, it's your show. We can do whatever you want. And I'm like, let's count graphic novels. Because it's not necessarily a comic, I guess, but I think it kind of falls under that umbrella. So
I guess so, yeah. I just think it was a 7-book series.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I guess each book was a graphic novel. But
well, one of mine comes from graphic novels. That's why I wanted to do it. We'll get there.
But yeah, I mean, I would highly recommend Scott Pilgrim versus the World. If you haven't seen it, you definitely should check it out. It's a fun movie.
I'll add it to my list. Really I will.
It's really fun.
I really love this. This is something I used to love about our other podcast too, Dragon's Rocket Ship podcast. Was when we would talk about stuff like this, I would literally go, "Oh, I'll write that down," write it down to go watch later. So I learned a lot of good stuff. Okay, my next movie is most of mine are going to be kind of like no surprise, but Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah, that's another great one.
I actually thought that was one of the best I've ever seen, and I loved Chris Pratt. I loved just everything about Guardians of the Galaxy, almost everything. And I thought James Gunn, who directed it, just did a great job of that, using that ensemble cast to their absolute best, really playing their strengths against each other in a great way. So I have seen a couple of different reviewers kind of do, what's wrong with this movie. And I'm like, man, if you hadn't pointed that out, I would have never thought of that, and I still don't even care. It's still awesome. So I love that movie. And the James Gunn was so smart to use the music he used. Yeah. And even using Chris Pratt. I mean, he really took a chance on Chris Pratt because he was, how much weight did he lose for that part?
He lost a lot.
He was like 60 or 70 pounds. Like it was a lot.
Parks and Recreation when he, said he was going to be Star Lord, who I knew from the comics, I was like, well, that's an interesting choice. But yeah, totally made it work.
And that's one of Marvel's greatest strengths, I think, has to be their casting. I
Absolutely, yeah.
mean, Chris Pratt, like I said, nobody would have thought of him as Star Lord, and now I can't think of anybody but him as Star Lord. Which, in fairness, I didn't read the comics, so I didn't really know anything about Guardians of the Galaxy until the movie. But it was just that's one of those ones, like you said, I left the theater feeling great. Like I was all pumped
Yeah.
up and excited, and to me that's one of the marks of a really good movie is if you can leave either it's really made you think because it's a drama, or it's something that's kind of left you pumped up and excited. So that was the feeling I got with Guardians of the Galaxy. So I just love that movie.
Yeah, I remember when I was collecting Guardians of the Galaxy, but it was kind of like a third tier title. The only characters I really knew were um, uh, Nebula, Gamora, and Drax. Because Drax played, just get a little nerdy, Drax played a big part in the Infinity Gauntlet in the comics.
Okay.
So I knew him from that, but I never knew. But yeah, when I saw the list, I was like, well, I know all those characters. This is really going to be interesting. And my nerd head going, people are not going to accept this. The Galaxy is just a weird
Like, to
group.
pitch that, who would have ever thought any of that would work?
Yeah, when I first heard them announce it, I was like, Guardians of the Galaxy, really? Like that's like a third tier comic that only I'm Rocket. I'm sorry, I knew Rocket Raccoon too. That's the other thing I was thinking. There's a raccoon in this group.
I mean,
How is this going to work? But yeah, everyone fell in love with it, and I could see why. It was a great movie.
I saw the trailers and I actually almost didn't go see it because I'm like, there's a talking raccoon in a tree. Like, I don't really know what's going on here, and I'm not sure I'm on board. But by that time, the MCU had such a good, well-defined reputation. I decided to take a chance on it, and it's it's in my top 5 favorite comic book movies. So and that was my first time to fall in love with Chris Pratt.
I think what made it work was the humor, though, because it was not only a good movie, but a really funny movie too.
Well, the humor had heart, even too. Like it wasn't just slapstick, goofy humor. It was. You're absolutely right. The humor is humor like real people humor.
Yeah.
Like something we would joke with each other and actually say. So just like him calling him. Didn't he call him the Giving Tree? Calls Groot the Giving Tree. What's wrong with the Giving Tree here? All that kind of, all these little pop culture references within the movie are hilarious. So it's just.
But the joke that made me laugh the most is probably something really simple when they're invading the ship and Groot, they said we need light, and Groot does all the fireflies, and Drax goes, how are you doing that? And Chris Pratt goes, I'm pretty sure his answer is going to be I am Groot. For some reason, I thought that was the funniest thing.
Like, you're right. I mean, that's a really simple line, but I remember laughing really hard at that too. Like,
yeah, I have a feeling his answer is going to be I am Groot.
Yeah. I love that.
But
movie.
Yeah, I mean, the humor really sold it, and the characters, and I agree that's a great movie. Again, one of the ones, if it comes on, I'll watch it. If it comes on TV.
Yeah, and that put James Gunn on my map. Like, I didn't even know who he was until I saw Guardians of the Galaxy, and I have a huge appreciation for him as a director now that I would have never, I mean.
Isn't he the director of the new Suicide Squad?
He is. So Guardians of the Galaxy.
All right, so my third one is an old school one. It's the one that started it all. Superman the movie.
Wow, that is old school.
Superman the movie.
That's a good movie, though.
What's that?
That's a good movie, though. That's a really good movie.
What can you say about it? It basically started the whole genre. If you think about it, it was the first big budget one. Even looking back, I watched it not that long ago, and it still holds up pretty well.
Really?
I mean, some of the effects are still a little shady, but it was made in 1978, so you only get some. But a lot of the flying effects still work for me. A lot of the model effects still work. Christopher Reeve is just, I mean, how can you not?
You have to love Christopher Reeve as Superman.
I mean, Christopher Reeve changed the way people perceived Superman, because before the movie, Superman was kind of like, I don't know. I mean, I wasn't around, but I remember reading. He's just, he was nothing. He was like just a blank slate of a character. But then Christopher Reeve brought the heart. He brought, the humor. He just brought the strength to the role. I know this Superman is not quite as strong as he becomes in other movies, but he's still able to lift up trains and stuff like that.
Right. Yeah.
The romance, which I didn't appreciate when I was a kid, the romance between Superman and Lois and
Well.
Lane, because I was a kid.
Yeah.
I didn't care
Exactly.
about that.
Exactly.
I wanted to see laser beams coming out of the ground and beating people up. But as I got older, I could appreciate the maturity of the relationship they put into that. His Clark Kent was fantastic. They always point out, how can you not tell Clark Kent and Superman are the same person? It's like, watch Christopher Reeve be Clark Kent.
That's a good point. Yeah, he actually does a good job of making you believe people would not necessarily notice, because
exactly.
his whole demeanor changes when he's Clark Kent. He's not just wearing glasses.
I can't remember if it was in the first one or the second one, but he wanted to tell Lois. He takes the glasses off and he stands up straight and he becomes Superman. But at the last second, he changes his mind. He puts the glasses back on.
Yeah, I remember that scene.
I can't remember if that's from the first one or the second one, but
I can't either.
You can really just see that these are two different people.
Mm-hmm.
There's no way anyone's going to get them mixed up. Lex Luthor, Gene Hackman, awesome.
Right.
He's just great as Lex Luthor. His plot was totally ridiculous and stupid, but again, that goes back to the Superman comics back then, where you have these big, stupid plots that the evil bad guys are going to do. Drop a nuclear bomb on a San Andreas fault and have California fall into the sea. Why not?
Well, that's something people were really worried about too.
Yeah, exactly.
Because I grew up thinking, wow, I sure do wish I could grow up and be an actress, but I can't move out to LA because that state's just going to fall off. I was convinced forever, because I was, people would talk about with the earthquakes and the fault that California's just going to fall into the ocean. You don't want to go out there.
And then you find out it's going to take 40,000 years for it to actually go into the ocean.
Right. And I'm like, it's been a long time since I thought that, and nothing's happened yet. So I guess I could have went out there, but.
And I just go back, actually, what I found interesting about Superman movie is actually kind of like two movies into one. You had the first half, which was, Superman, Krypton blowing up, Superman crashing to Earth, him growing up a little bit, finding the Fortress of Solitude, and then it turns to a completely different movie when he gets out of the Fortress of Solitude, and it becomes him moving back to Metropolis and starting that part of the story where the plot kind of really kicks in.
Right.
But it's well paced. You don't even notice it. It was just such a well paced and well written story.
Yeah. In retrospect, I don't think about how long it took for them to build up to Metropolis and what would be present day for Superman, because it is really well written and it just moves. So,
and that was written by Mario Puzo.
Oh, really?
The screenplay, yeah. Richard Donner is, of course, a classic director.
Right.
So, they just had everyone together, and the special effects are still really hold up well. You can believe a man can fly. I think that was the one of the taglines for the movie. You will believe a man can fly, and it's like, yeah, it still holds up. I think
I can see that. Does Man of Steel make it onto any of your lists?
It almost made the bad list. I was not a big fan of Man of Steel.
Okay, because I wanted to compare it, but I didn't want to steal your thunder if it was on your bad list. It's not on my bad list.
I do have a Superman movie on my bad list.
Okay.
But it is not Man of Steel.
Okay. Well, I thought, for all of the flack that Man of Steel took, I actually liked his learning who he was stuff. I thought that was those were some of the stronger parts, Yeah,
I think that's one of the reasons it didn't make my list. Man of Steel, it was and I love Zack Snyder, by the way. I want to point that out. There's really, Man of Steel is the only Zack Snyder movie that I've seen. I haven't seen Sucker Punch. But that's the only Zack Snyder movie I've seen that I haven't liked.
Really?
Yeah. I might not love them all, but at least I always liked them. But Man of Steel, I just really didn't like too much. But again, it still had some pretty good, fun moments in it.
Right.
I did enjoy the fight, the Smallville fight with Superman and the two other Kryptonians in Smallville. I thought that was really well done.
There was a lot of oh gosh, yeah, no, it's collateral damage. Thank you. I don't know why I was struggling with that so hard.
We're writers.
I know. I do that all the time too. I'm like, I'm a writer. I don't know what words are. There was a lot of collateral damage in that movie. So as much as I like that movie, it
got ridiculous toward the end.
It really was.
The Smallville fight was just the right amount of damage and action.
And even then, I was already starting to get upset. Man, a lot of innocent people are getting killed in this battle. Yeah. I was already, and then you get to the end where they're taking out a whole city, and I'm like, okay, this is. And when the girl says, he saved us, I'm like, who's left? He saved who? The 5 of you still left standing? Because everybody else pretty much just got killed. So, okay. So that one was yours, right? Superman.
That was my third one, yeah.
Okay. So my third one was the Avengers Endgame.
Okay. So we're going to have some overlap here.
Yeah, I kind of figured we would too. But it's kind of hard not to put Avengers Endgame into a list of best superhero comic.
Now that's actually 4, but I'm counting Endgame and Infinity War as
As
one
like
movie.
one. I almost did.
Basically it is.
Because it's like one long story. And they
one
just
5-hour movie.
It really is. Yeah. They could have released that as one movie. You know, like nobody would go to a movie theater to see a 5-hour movie, but really it was basically one big movie. So I feel that. I think one of the reasons I love Endgame so much was that it really was the culmination of all these solo movies and all these intertwined stories coming together. Yeah. And that was just amazing.
Again, the Russo brothers just really
did such a good job with bringing all those strings together and tying them all up, and it was just fantastic.
Yeah.
And I was one of the people in the theater when they go after Thanos and they find him and he's destroyed the stones, so they think, well, we can't undo what was done, and they cut off his head and they leave. And then it says 5 years later.
Yeah,
I actually was like, oh.
I did the same thing. Yeah. I'm watching. It's funny. I was watching. I'm going, boy, did I miss something?
Yeah, they're really committing to this. Like, yeah.
Wow, they found Thanos. They killed him. What? I was really confused at Stark's. I thought the whole movie was going to be them looking for Thanos to try to turn things
right.
back.
Sure. We all did, I think.
And they subverted it. The first 10 minutes, Thanos is gone. He's dead.
It was a shock. So I thought there are no shocks left, after everybody dissolved, and I was wrong. And I actually did go, oh, but that has to be, that movie is the most vocal I've ever heard an audience in an actual live theater before. So, I mean, I know I don't want to get off in too much of a rabbit trail here because it can get to be kind of a polarizing topic, but I really, 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 really hope once things start to really get back to normal and we start to see some semblance of our society resolve back to pre-pandemic, that people start going to the theaters again. Because
I definitely want to go back to theater. Yeah.
I've heard people talking about, I don't think the theaters will ever recover. And I really, really hope that's not the case, because there is nothing like sitting in that dark room full of people, everybody watching the same thing, experiencing the same emotions. And Avengers Endgame is a perfect example of that. Like, it is wonderful to watch it at home, but there will never be another experience like sitting in that theater and everybody cheering those special moments. Like, obviously spoilers, but if you haven't watched it by now, I don't know what to tell you. But when Captain America picks up Mjolnir, the hammer, absolutely. And everybody just screamed, like we were just crazy. It was perfect. Those moments were just perfect. There was so much right. And it was just so much fun to watch in the theater.
I can tell you, it was one of the few movies that made me cry, not because, spoiler, because of Tony Stark's death, but when Cap is, his shield is broken, he's strapping it on, he stands on top of the mountain, the hill, and the army is just coming at him, and all you hear is Sam's voice and his Cap.
Yeah, on your left.
And then you see the portal open, and here comes. It's even now because Chadwick Boseman passed away, but seeing the Black Panther walk out with, Siri and the other guards behind him.
Yes.
All the portals open. I'm like, oh my God.
I think I actually got more teary-eyed and cried there than when Stark actually died. Right. And I think it's because I knew, as a writer, there was no way his arc could end without him dying in this movie. Yeah. Like, I just knew going in, Tony's going to die. There's no way that's not happening.
Gonna have to die.
Right. And it just made logical sense that it would be Tony. That would be the perfect ending to his arc, from selfish playboy to savior of the universe,
exactly,
like that he would have to sacrifice himself. But that moment, and here's another case where music is so important. That horn right there, so perfect when you hear On Your Left and that portal opens, and just
the music stuff. Yeah, that just yeah. Then
I can now. How many years has it been since that came out now? A couple years at
two,
least. I mean,
two. I think it came out in 2018.
that sounds right. So we're going on 3. So
Yeah.
I can hear that music without seeing any of the video and get choked up hearing just the music.
I know it's great.
So
It's
I'm
one of
like,
those. I can say it's one of the definitely the best, one of the best moments I've ever had in a theater. Just because it came, I don't want to say it came out. No, we kind of knew they were going to come back, but just the way they presented it was just, I can't
exactly.
imagine any other way. Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, that's the next one on my list. I do that. That's actually the one I was saying. That's my favorite. Those two, Infinity War
Okay.
and Endgame, are my favorite Marvel movies, but I don't think they're the best because I think Captain America was a better made movie. The Winter Soldier.
I'll give
I
you
know
that. Yeah.
it's a very small distinction.
But no, I see what you're saying. Like
I guess it's
overall,
one of
it
those
was
things where
it was a better movie in general. It could almost because it can stand by itself, and
yeah,
that
yeah,
makes
it's one of
sense.
those movies where if someone says, "Oh, I want to start. I want to watch a good. I want to watch the best Marvel movie. Which one would I watch?" I'd have to point them to Captain America: Winter Soldier, and not Endgame and Infinity War.
Well, really, even Infinity War. I mean, you really can't enjoy those movies without having watched a good bulk of all the movies that came before it. You
Exactly,
don't
or
have
at
to
least
watch
the
every
Avengers.
movie, but you would need to have seen a lot of them. Whereas
I
Captain
think I
America
think
Winter Soldier, you really could almost watch that by itself, like you said.
yeah, exactly. I think people said if you wanted to watch it, you'd have to watch Avengers, Civil War, and maybe Captain America, Winter Soldier to understand what's going on in, especially Civil War. I think Civil War is the one you would have to
You
really
really have to
watch
watch Civil War, yeah. Yeah, because
in
you
order
got
to
to
get
understand
what's
why
going on.
everybody's all split up in the Infinity War.
Right, exactly, exactly.
Hmm.
But yeah, that's actually my number 4 on here. So we're going to be subtracting one from my list.
Okay. Well,
All
we're kind of running into a time issue, so that's okay.
right, cool. Uh, so the last one I have is The Dark Knight.
I haven't even seen that one.
You haven't seen the one with Heath Ledger in The Dark Knight? Yeah, I've seen
That's
that.
the third one in the Batman, the
No, the
Nolan.
second one.
It's okay. I take that back. I have seen that one then. What's
Okay,
the third
yeah,
one then?
The Dark Knight Returns.
Oh, okay. Well, I have seen The
Okay,
Dark Knight then. Yes, I did see
okay.
that.
The one with Heath Ledger and the
Hmm.
Joker and Harvey Dent and all that. That was another one of those movies when I got done leaving the theater. I said I gotta see this one again. So then I drug my wife, who wasn't my wife at the time, to the IMAX theater in Cherry Hill. If you know from the area, you know that Cherry Hill has the best IMAX theater, in the area because I knew parts of it were filmed in IMAX. And I'm like, you got to see this movie in IMAX. I just want to see this movie in IMAX. So we went to Cherry. It's a long drive too. It's like a 45-minute hour drive from my house to this IMAX theater.
That's how you were showing love, though. You're like, let me share something with you in the proper format.
Exactly. This was this. We hadn't been together a year yet, and she knew I was a nerd.
That's how you. But that's how you know. I feel like you know somebody cares about you if they want you to enjoy something they like and they want you to share in that. So if you're like, you have to not only see this movie, but you have to see it in the right format, in the right place. That's
Exactly.
love. It's
You got to see it with me in the
romantic.
right format and everything. I mean, she didn't like it, but hey, gave it a try.
Well, it was a good thought.
It was a good start.
You tried.
My wife's not into this much, although she did enjoy we just got done watching Falcon and the Winter Soldier, so she did enjoy the series.
It's hard not to like the Marvel universe. I think,
Yeah,
that's one of their greatest strengths is they've been able to pull in people who would not normally even be kind of comic book fans or superhero fans. They've just done a really good job of pulling in pretty much everybody.
yep.
So I consider myself to be, I listen to another content creator refers to anybody who doesn't read comics as normies. And I'm like, that's basically me. And I still have a little more pop culture savvy than say the average person. But I think even everybody is like, Marvel's awesome,
Yeah.
so.
Well, I mean, Dark Knight is one of those DC movies. I know it's not really part of the DCU, but
Right. But yeah,
it's one of those movies where anyone can watch it and enjoy it. Again, it's like one of those movies where you don't necessarily need Batman in it to make it a good movie. If it was just, I don't know, a detective movie or something like that, it would still work. And I want to say basically off of the performance by Heath Ledger as a Joker.
yeah. Heath
I mean, that's
Ledger
iconic.
was that's the only thing that, believe it or not, that movie, I liked it. But what really stood out to me was Heath Ledger as the Joker. Other than that, I don't actually remember all that much about that movie. I feel kind of like a jerk, like I know it was a good movie. I remember thinking it was a good movie, but the Nolan Batman, it's not a very popular opinion for pop culture geeks like us, but I didn't like him that much.
No, it's funny. I'm kind of just ambivalent on Batman Begins because one of the reasons I don't like Raj Al Ghul as a bad guy. I've never liked him. I just thought he was boring, and I love Liam Neeson, but I didn't really like Raj Al Ghul. The fight scenes were incomprehensible. I couldn't tell what the heck was going on half the time when Batman was fighting. I think he fixed that a lot in The Dark Knight.
And that one had the Scarecrow, right?
That one had the Scarecrow. Again, a character a bad guy who's okay.
Mm-hmm.
It's had some good. I've read a little bit in the comics and I'm catching up on Batman the animated series, and he had a couple good episodes in that. But for the most part, Scarecrow, okay, he's got this fear gas, and you see your fears. All right, that's visually exciting, but didn't really do much for me. And then you had the League of Assassins. So yeah, I wasn't a big fan of Batman Begins, so I came into Dark Knight. I don't want to say low expectations, but I wasn't really expecting what I saw.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I will definitely say I think Dark Knight was a much stronger movie than Batman Begins.
And when the first appearance of Heath Ledger as the Joker, when he came into the mob meeting and goes, "Do you want to see a magic trick?" And he smashed that guy's head down with a pencil. I was like, "Oh my god, that was awesome!"
A little darker,
yeah, that was awesome.
I've been talking about how I like to think I'm all full of love and light until you start to hear my movie taste and what made me laugh. So like that made me laugh, and then
everyone in the theater laughed at that one. That was funny.
Yeah, and I watched and I haven't posted it yet, but I have a quick review of Doom. Like I finally got around to watching. What was it, filmed in like 2005? Doom with Carl Urban.
Oh, Doom.
Doom,
okay,
yeah.
Okay.
Like, and there was some
with
part.
The Rock?
Yes.
With The Rock, yeah, I saw that one.
You see where my allegiance lies. So I'm like, Carl Urban. I forgot The Rock was in it. But there's like a part where somebody's tongue, like one of the monsters' tongue gets cut off as he's trying to go through a door, and the door cuts the tongue off, and the tongue flies across the room. And I just thought that was hilarious. Like, not like ha ha ha, but I just like and I was amused by it. So I'm starting to worry. Because that's like the third time I've mentioned something in a movie where I'm like, that's a little disturbing, and I thought it was hilarious.
That's funny. I mean, did you ever see the movie? Probably didn't. The Punisher War Journal.
No.
The last Punisher movie. There's a scene where these parkour guys running around doing flips and stuff, and one of them. It's my favorite scene in any movie ever. He's doing a flip, and you see a rocket come from the bottom of the screen, hit the guy in midair, and explode. It's a lot funnier to see.
It's sad that I'm laughing this hard just hearing you talk about it.
Oh my god, I died laughing. I watched it at home. I died laughing.
I would probably
It
enjoy
was the
that.
funniest thing, but I get your feeling sometimes dark humor is the best humor in the world.
Sometimes. We need the release, right?
So, Dark Knight, I don't know. Everything's been said about it. It's just a fantastic movie that I'd watch again. If it ever came on TV, I'll watch it if it comes on.
I might have to give that trilogy another look-see.
The first and the third one, I didn't particularly like, but the third one had Bane, and Bane was awesome.
Yes, the third one is the one I think I saw like 10 minutes in and just didn't get to finish it.
Yeah, the Bane was really the only good thing about the third one, I thought. And Catwoman, I do like Anne Hathaway. I do like Anne Hathaway.
Mm-hmm.
So I liked her as Catwoman, but it's just kind of boring. It was just there.
Yeah. I like I said, I think I watched maybe 10 minutes of it and just couldn't finish it. I don't know what happened. I knew something. I had to turn it off and just never came back or whatever happened. But
you should probably check it out, but don't put it on the top of your list.
I won't. I'll keep Scott Pilgrim versus the World.
Definitely keep that one on top of your list.
Keep that one higher.
Well, and Mad Max Fury Road, so I know you haven't watched that one yet. Your last
so
podcast.
A little aside here, Tim writes to me and said, I'd like to be on your show because I'm yelling at your podcast or your show enough that I feel like I'm already involved. And then I'm like, oh, okay. And I went and looked, and here's this paragraph. Here's why you're wrong, and here's what you need to do. And I laughed at that. That was hilarious. But yeah, I'm getting a lot of recommendations from people who are watching this show and like, how did you not see that? Or, you didn't mention this. I love it though. That's exactly what I'm looking for. So that was your last one though, right?
That was my last one, yeah, because the Avengers was my fourth one, and we both had the same one.
Well, I have two more.
All right,
and I'll try to hurry up a little bit because we're kind of running out of time. But Red was my number 2.
That one I haven't seen.
Really?
Yeah, I know. I remember you mentioning this one time on our other podcast.
Oh, I love Red.
Good, but I haven't seen it at all.
Now, this one is a little bit of a cheat on my part because it is based on a graphic novel.
Okay.
And
I didn't know, yeah.
He's not technically a superhero either, which we didn't say had to be superhero. We just had comics.
Right.
But
exactly.
But it's so far fetched. He might as well be a superhero. It's really campy in the sense that the action scenes are so completely unbelievable, and yet you want to believe them. And so
this is the one. To make sure I know, this is the one with Helen Mirren, John Malkovich.
Bruce Willis is the main character, and he is Red, retired, extremely dangerous from the CIA. Helen Mirren, John Malkovich, Morgan Freeman.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I've seen bits and pieces of it. I've never seen the whole thing.
It's really worth watching. And then Red 2 was also very good. The first one was better, which is not unusual, But Red 2 is definitely worth watching. I actually have a friend that said she liked Red 2 better than the first one, but I think the first one's stronger. But there's some funnier stuff, I think, in the second one. But the action sequences are just so over the top. I love them. Like there's a sequence where they're in a cop car. Like he has stolen a cop car to get away from a bad situation. And she's doped up because somebody, got her with like a sedative or whatever. So she's kind of doped up and somebody rear ends them or clips the end of their car. And as the car's spinning, he throws the door open and steps out of the car as it's spinning.
I think I've seen that scene.
Like they showed it in the previews. It was like,
yeah, I remember that from the previews.
And he's like lifting up his gun and shooting as the car is spinning as he's stepping out. It was completely ridiculous and unbelievable, and I loved every minute of it. It was just really fun. So Red was number 2, and then number 1 should not be any surprise to you. What?
Can I guess it?
Try to guess.
Thor Ragnarok.
Oh, you are so awesome. Yes, that is my number 1.
I knew there had to be a Thor movie in there somewhere. Yes. When you get to the top, I was figuring that's what it was probably.
And I say this, okay, so of course Thor is my man. I love Thor. I love Chris Hemsworth as Thor.
Of course.
And I like him in other stuff, but I love him as Thor. And actually, if you read the Yggdrasian Chronicles, Dag is really modeled after Chris Hemsworth's look as Thor, with the long hair and stuff. And then I missed his hair in Ragnarok, but not too much. Like I didn't mind it, but the strength, in my opinion, of Thor Ragnarok is kind of some of the things that we liked about Guardian of the Galaxy too. There's better humor. I think it took itself a little less seriously.
Absolutely.
And that was a very good tone for the third one. And I loved that last battle sequence with Thor against Hela and on the Rainbow Road.
Rainbow Bridge. Yeah.
Rainbow Bridge, excuse me. And when they're playing the Immigrant Song by Led Zeppelin, I feel like Captain Marvel tried to do the same thing with their scene where they're playing Just a Girl and she's fighting. It just didn't work. The reason that Thor Ragnarok worked at that end sequence was because it just fit so perfectly. It wasn't like wedged in. I felt like that was kind of shoehorned in. This was like the lyrics worked, the sound worked. They made the actual fight match the song, or the song matched the fight. So it wasn't like we just throw this song on top of a fight scene.
Right, so, it worked well. That's very well. Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
So that was like, if I was going to write what I felt like would be the perfect campy fight scene, there it was. I could never do better than that.
Again, this is one of the movies where the trailer spoiled it, because I would have loved to have gone into that not knowing he was going to be fighting the whole big green monster. So I watched it recently, and you can tell by the way it was moving that the Hulk was going to be a surprise.
Mm-hmm.
You could just tell that that's what they were building for, and you were supposed to be like, oh my god, it's the Hulk. But of course, the trailers
I hated that. I hated that the trailer spoiled that, because That would have been so phenomenal in the theater.
Exactly.
For the Hulk come bursting out, and you'd be like, I had no idea the Hulk was going to be in this movie.
Exact same reaction. You had the exact same reaction that Thor did.
Right.
Yes.
And then that line where he's like, I know him from work would have been so much funnier if we hadn't seen it 100 times in the trailer, you know?
Exactly.
So that's my only really complaint, I think, actually, with Thor Ragnarok was the promotion of it, spoiling what would have been a really awesome moment. Other than that, though, I mean, there was so much to like about it.
It helps that it had some good jokes. I always loved the when Loki came through the corridor. I was like, I have been falling for 13 minutes.
Well, I love him telling Carl Urban's character, you had one job. You had one job. Yeah, there was a lot to really...
Actually, I think that movie had the perfect Loki moment when, he appears on the bridge and he goes, your savior has arrived.
I know, I love that.
Perfect Loki moment. Just absolutely perfect.
Yes.
But yeah, I love that. I mean, that is a really, really good movie. I like it. I love it a lot too.
Yeah. So that's my list. And of course, Thor had to be in there somewhere. Try to work him into every list if I can. I almost put him on even my worst list.
Oh, no.
I did almost put the Dark World was not this.
Dark World wasn't as bad as its reputation.
I think none of the Thors are as bad as people have made them out to be. No. The first one or the second one. The thing
Dark World is it had a lackluster bad guy.
Yes.
But I thought the end battle was really cool when they're going through the different dimensions and they're
that was a lot of fun. Where they were falling onto the that restaurant in London, you know what I'm talking about?
Right, and they pop out and they appear like a desert world, and then they pop into another world. The Hammer has no idea where to go. He's just flying from one end of the world,
right? Yeah,
to the other, because Thor keeps going to different locations.
When I really also liked some of the humor in the Dark World, I feel like it was just kind of underrated. Like when they go into Jane's apartment. And Eric Selvig is there, and they're like, everything's going to be crazy, and it's going to be like the end of the world. And he goes, I better put on some pants.
Yeah.
That's what I always think.
It's not my favorite, but I think that its reputation is worse than the actual movie.
I agree.
I mean, he also had some of, I think, the best Loki Thor moments of the entire series in there, like when he's trying to fly it and Loki's giving him directions. He goes, no, Loki, that is not distracting at all.
Of the two of us, who of us can actually fly? Yeah. Yeah, there was a lot of fun in that.
Cage, and he finds out his mom dies, and his veil falls, and he destroys all the furniture.
Yeah, there was some actual emotional connection there that
right,
I think.
Exactly.
Then I think that's part of why Ragnarok actually worked, was because of the groundwork that was laid in Thor and Thor: The Dark World. So I don't think they get enough credit. Everybody's like, oh, Ragnarok was so much better. Well, you wouldn't have had Ragnarok without those two. So, and the Loki Thor moments in Ragnarok wouldn't have made any sense and wouldn't have been as funny if you hadn't had this backstory. Although the one thing I did fail to mention that I think we have to talk about is that epic drama in the beginning of Ragnarok with Matt Damon and the other Hemsworth brother.
Liam?
No, not Liam. It's their other brother, who was playing Thor in the little. And then Sam Neill, wasn't it? Sam Neill was supposed to be Odin, and oh gosh, what? Which? There's Liam and Chris, and then there's another brother, and the other brother was playing Thor.
Yeah, I'm not up on my Hemsworths, so I can't say for sure. I have no idea.
Well, I can't remember. He doesn't do nearly as much, of course, as Liam and Chris, but that was just, and then the choir singing, and that was just perfect. It was just perfect humor. It was so funny. Okay, anyway.
I agree.
All right, so there's our top 5 favorites. Now let's talk about our least favorites, and I think this will actually go a little bit faster.
I think so.
I'm going to let you start off, and I have a couple of cheats on mine.
So this actually might be in order. So I'm going to start this one in order. The bottom of my list, the two on the bottom of my list, I don't hate them. So I think there's actually good movies in these movies. It's just, it didn't come together. And my first one is Spider-Man 3.
Spider-Man 3 is on my list too.
Liz, on your list? I mean, there is a good movie in there somewhere. It had all the elements, I thought, of a really good Spider-Man movie. but it was just too busy.
It
There was just
was
too
too
much.
busy. There was
There's
a
just too much going
lot.
on,
Yeah.
and it doesn't hurt that I loved Venom when he first appeared in the comics, but he got way overexposed. Even when I was collecting in the early '90s,
Mm,
got way overexposed. And honestly, I mean, there was not much to Venom, the actual character, except he hates Spider-Man and he wants to kill him, which is cool in one or two issues in a comic book, but he was definitely shoehorned into this one. I'm sure everyone knows the history that Sam Raimi didn't like Venom. He didn't want to put him in a movie. The studio said Venom's the biggest thing, in the comic books right now. So you have to put him in there. So they kind of like forced him in there. But you had that. You had Sandman. You had the um, Harry Osborn plot going on. It was
right.
just,
It was just
and
too
you had.
much.
We're not even going to talk about emo Peter Parker.
Like, we tried pretending that didn't happen.
And don't get me wrong, Sam Raimi. There's always weird moments in every Sam Raimi Spider-Man movie. I remember, even though Spider-Man 2 is one of my favorite movies, it still had that raindrops keep falling on my head sequence.
Oh, yeah.
Peter
Yeah. I
Parker,
forgot
it's
about that.
completely silly.
It really
I
had
mean,
nothing to do with nothing. Like,
yeah,
yeah.
completely silly, but I kind of liked it. But then you had, emo Peter Parker walking down the street like a disco person pointing at everyone shooting, doing all
Yeah,
this.
that was terrible.
It was just too much. And again, I think there's a good mix. I did like the emotional part of Sandman because I do like that character in the book, and the fact that he was, just a guy trying to get money for his. I think was his daughter dying. I don't remember if she was dying or not.
I do remember it was something about his kid. That's
Yeah,
all I
again, I mean,
remember.
that's
But it
how
was a tug at your heartstrings kind of thing. Like he was
yeah, it tells
just
you how little
trying.
impact it is. How
Mhm.
little impact it is. But I thought that they had just stuck with that, like focused a little bit on that, or focus on Harry Osborn trying to get revenge, or heck, even focus on Venom. Just focus on one of those.
One of them. Just pick one.
No focus.
Stick with it. Yeah.
Focus.
Yeah. I think the biggest problem with Spider-Man 3 was the loss of Sam Raimi. Because I like Sam Raimi. I loved Spider-Man and Spider-Man 2. And then I've watched enough Sam Raimi to be like, oh, there's Ted Raimi, there's Bruce Campbell,
Oh,
like
yeah,
I mean, so in Spider-Man 3, I'm like looking for that. Nope, so it was I just think the tone changed so much that it wasn't enjoyable anymore.
Yeah, it's like they're trying to make three different movies and then none of them
Mm-hmm.
mesh together, which is a shame. I love this. I love all the Spider-Man movies.
And Tobey
But that
Maguire,
one,
I really enjoyed as Spider-Man.
yeah, everyone put their best effort into it, but it just didn't come together for me.
Yeah. Well, I had that on my list, so I'll go to my next one, and I'll go from the bottom up on mine too. So my next least favorite comic book movie was The Watchmen.
Be still my beating heart. I love that movie.
I hated that movie so much. I'm sorry.
Now I can understand. It is a movie that it's a bit harsh. It's a very dark movie for sure. But I love, 'cause again, like I said before, I like a lot of Zack Snyder's stuff. I guess 300 was the first exposure I had to Zack Snyder. But so Watchmen was my second like Zack Snyder movie I saw, and I really liked Watchmen a lot.
I liked 300 okay, but Watchmen was just too dark for me. I think, and I might actually would like it better now if I saw it now, I guess. But it was just, I wasn't ready for that. And, if I want to see kind of a comic book superhero movie, that was just not the tone I was looking for, ready for.
Right.
And even now, I mean, looking back on it, like, this is kind of my problem I have with The Boys, believe it or not, from Amazon Prime, which I like. I say I like it. I watched the first season. There were things about it I liked a lot, but it's almost too gritty. And then the heroes aren't really heroes, and I know that's kind of the point, particularly with The Boys. That is definitely the point.
That's definitely what they're trying to
the
go with that,
superheroes are really the bad guys because nobody can stop them, and they're given carte blanche. But in The Watchmen, I think it was a little more nuanced, and so actually the writing was better, but it was just too dark for me. So I
have you read have you read the comic book at all?
Mm-mm. No, and all I knew of it was the movie. So I think that
Okay.
makes a difference too.
Yeah, I read the comic book like 3 or 4 times before I saw the movie, so I was well versed in the actual story.
Okay.
And actually, they did a pretty good job sticking to the story, but it's like the comic book was 12 issues, and there's a lot of more stuff that they couldn't put into the movie, but they hit all the right notes for me based on what I was reading in the when I read the comic book.
Did the blue guy run around naked in the books or what?
He did.
Okay.
You see a little blue guy running around with him.
Oh.
You know, but what's interesting is in the comic book, he doesn't start out that way. He's still human. So he wears pants, he wears student jacket, but as the book goes on, he gets less and less. He cares less and less about his vanity as he becomes more and more godlike. And I think that's what they were going for.
Right.
So that didn't quite come out in the movie, but in the book you can kind of see. And I guess maybe the book tinted my view of it because again I was very familiar with the characters and what they were going for.
Right.
But I think the movie did a really good job of that.
I think
the books wasn't quite as violent, but Zack Snyder likes to break bones in his
He
movies.
really does. He does. That was kind of one of my things with the Zack Snyder's Justice League was I'm like, oh well, we're gonna lose a lot of innocent people because it's Zack Snyder, so a lot of innocent Amazons had to perish, and
funny because Watchmen almost made my top 10, my top 5 actually.
Oh gosh, well I feel bad.
Really close. Didn't quite get there. Became really close.
This is where it gets interesting though. Like this is one of my least favorite movies. Not just one of my least favorite comic book movies. I really didn't like.
Like it. That's fine.
I'm sorry.
You're allowed to not like it. That's fine.
And then, or as my friend Sage tells me, you're allowed to have a wrong opinion.
No, but I get it. Even when I was watching it, I was like, how many people are going to like this movie? I liked it. I could totally see the division and why people would be turned off by it. I get it. I totally get it.
Well, what's next on your list? Maybe it's one that's going to make me cringe.
Okay, again, this one was one where I thought it had a good movie in there. Just it didn't quite work. Was a Green Lantern.
Okay, I never saw Green Lantern, so I can't really speak to that.
Yeah. Again, Green Lantern was one of those movies that was just too busy with the bad guys. So they had a really good concept, a really good idea. You got your typical superhero movie where Hal Jordan is this hotshot Ryan Reynolds, who everyone loves. You can't not love Ryan Reynolds.
That's right.
Everyone loves Ryan Reynolds.
It's the law. Yep.
Yeah, it's the law. He is a hotshot pilot, and there's the Green Lantern Corps, who is a group of aliens who protect different sectors of the galaxy. And the protector of our galaxy crash lands on Earth. He dies, and the ring finds the next worthy person, who is Hal Jordan. And then there's this bad guy, Parallax, who feeds off of fear. He gets loose, and he threatens to destroy the galaxy. So the Green Lantern Corps has to come together to fight him. And that part is really good. I mean, that part of the book, the movie, works really well, in my opinion. But then you have the other part of the movie that doesn't work well, which involves this scientist who gets infected with something and his brain gets bigger and he becomes smarter, becomes more evil. He kidnaps Ryan Reynolds' girlfriend, and Ryan Reynolds has to save her while fighting Parallax. So it's like these two movies, like they wrote two different movies and tried to put them together.
Yeah.
And it just didn't work. So I love, because there's a scene in the movie when Hal gets the ring, and the ring takes him to Io, which is the home planet of the Green Lanterns, and he gets trained on how to use the ring. And it's just, it's mostly CGI, so CGI is kind of a little wonky now, but I thought it was pretty cool at the time. It's really fun because the ring uses your own will, and whatever you imagine the ring can create. So of course, Hal Jordan's going to create all these military things.
Right.
So that part is great. I love that part. But then he comes back to Earth and he gets to a fight with his girlfriend over something. Yeah, I know, right? It's like this tone shift.
Yeah.
That throws the movie completely off the rails.
And
who's his girlfriend? Liv. Ryan Reynolds' wife now. I can't remember her name.
I can't remember. Blake Lively.
Blake Lively. That's it.
There you go. I know there's Li somewhere in there.
Like I said, it was just two movies that really could have been good. But they just It wasn't. Like I said, about half of the movie was like 2 hours, and I'd say about 45 minutes of that 2 hours were really fun, but then you had the rest of it.
I'm laughing about him coming back and having a fight with his girlfriend. That is kind of like, what?
Yeah, because I'm watching the theater going, you were just in space.
This seems petty. Planet. Yeah, seems like it would be petty.
So that was my fourth worst movie.
Okay. My next one is The Suicide Squad.
I like that one too.
Well, I mean, this one I debated. I almost didn't put it on my list, but um, I think it's not as much that it's a really horrible movie as much as it was a huge disappointment.
Was disappointing.
Like there was, and we talked about this in the Dragon's Rocket Ship podcast. I think we did a whole show on the Suicide Squad, did we? It seems like we did.
We
talked about it a lot, but one of the things we all said repeatedly was it was so disappointing because there was so much potential for the movie to be really good. You had good actors, you had good, interesting characters, and you just had the worst villain ever. Like just so boring. And
the Enchantress was her name.
Yeah, I think so. And it just went nowhere. It just went nowhere. I didn't even feel really like I had no. I really wasn't pulling for any of them. I wanted to, And then there was some parts.
The best way to describe it is it was forgettable.
It was kind of forgettable. That was an instance where the marketing team did a great job because those trailers were phenomenal. Like I was really excited to go see it, and then it was just a letdown. So
of course, you had the worst Jokers. I mean, I like Jared Leto as an actor. I think is really good, but. That didn't like that Joker, but yeah, I get it. It wasn't on my list, but if it comes on cable, I might catch a couple scenes here and there. But
I mean, it wasn't horrible. There were good scenes. It just overall was disappointing.
I think the best scene was Harley Quinn when she was imagining what her life would be like, and she's like has a bunch of kids with the Joker and like this dream house of like a 1950s house, with the. She's like basically a modern or a throwback woman with the kids and the happy husband. I thought that was great. I thought that was a great insight on the Harley Quinn.
I do think the one thing they did well was kind of show how dysfunctional the relationship with Harley Quinn and the Joker was.
Absolutely.
It was not romanticized, and I thought they did a good job of that because that's really a very abusive relationship. So I'm glad that they kind of pointed that out at least. But otherwise, it was just like, I think that's actually a much better way to say it, than it was forgettable.
It was forgettable, exactly. Okay, so you ready for my number 3?
Yes.
This is my Superman movie. And I kind of feel bad for putting on this list because it went through a lot of problems in production. But Superman 4.
Oh, I thought you were going to say Superman Returns.
I kind of like Superman Returns.
I like Superman Returns too.
Definitely not my favorite. But if it comes on, I'll watch it. But yeah, Superman 4. Have you ever seen it?
Which one is that?
It's The Quest for Peace. It's
Richard Pryor's in that, right?
No, that's Superman 3, which is actually a movie I like. It's not a good movie, but it's a movie I like.
Okay, so I know I've seen all of the older Supermans. So I know I saw it, but it was just a long time ago.
It had Nuclear Man. It had Superman collecting all the world's nuclear missiles and throwing them into the sun.
I kind of remember it, but again, I saw it so long ago, and obviously it was another one of those didn't make a great impression because I don't really remember it.
I remember watching it. I didn't go to the theaters to see it. Luckily, it was that bad. I was happy I saw it on cable. I saw it on cable one night. Well, first of all, it didn't look good at all. Even the trailers for the theaters didn't look good. But basically, Superman, a little kid stops Superman, wants to know why he's not doing more. Superman feels guilty. He tells the world he's going to rid the world of nuclear bombs. So he gathers them all up. Lex Luthor, who escapes from jail with John Cryer, which is funny because John Cryer plays Lex Luthor now in Supergirl.
Oh.
This was a really young John Cryer. He breaks his Uncle Lex out of jail, and they put Lex Luthor's DNA in a costume. This is so stupid. In a nuclear missile, because when the nuclear missile explodes in the sun, it's going to create Nuclear Man, who Lex Luthor wants to kill Superman. Of course, it does. I mean, the plan works perfectly. So you have Nuclear Man coming to the Earth, and him and Superman are duking it out, and then I think
that is so 80s. Oh my goodness!
I think the Daily Bugle was bought out by a tabloid, so the Daily Bugle became a tabloid. Daily Bugle. I'm sorry, Daily Planet. Oh my gosh, I'm getting my dailies mixed up. The Daily Planet is bought out.
I was just going along with it. Daily Bugle is Spider-Man, isn't it?
Spider-Man, yeah. I always get them two mixed up.
But gosh, that's so 80s. Nuclear Man and.
I feel bad. I mean, over the years, I've actually learned a little bit more about the background because halfway through, like during filming, the budget got cut like in half.
Oh gosh!
So you had they had no money for special effects, and it shows. It shows.
Aww.
Absolutely shows they had no money for special effects. But I kind of have a little more appreciation for it, knowing all this stuff, because it actually had some pretty cool ideas on paper that I think could have worked if they had a bigger budget. You had Superman fighting Nuclear Man on the moon, which is just as dumb as it sounds. But I'm thinking to myself, that actually is pretty cool. If you write that,
If it had been done well, we wouldn't be laughing about it.
Right, write that down on a piece of paper. Like, okay, that actually could work. You had Nuclear Man going into a volcano and causing it to erupt. Then you had Superman slicing a mountain in half and using it to plug the volcano up. Again, which is actually probably the best scene in the movie, because it actually did look pretty cool for 80s special effects.
Right, sure.
But I mean, spoiler alert: the way Superman beats Nuclear Man, because Nuclear Man is powered by the sun. So Superman moves the moon to cause a total eclipse of the sun, which depowers Nuclear Man.
Oh my gosh!
He then takes Nuclear Man and throws him into a nuclear power plant, which then just, like, I guess, kills him, because all the power supplies go all the way up and the city lights up really, really bright. And it is such a stupid movie.
Oh my gosh! What I'm also thinking, not science minded. Okay, even I'm like, moving the moon to create a solar eclipse would literally destroy the world. like you can't, with gravity and all that, like there's just no way that wouldn't have severe repercussions.
And it's not, because if you watch it, you can tell, like, everyone's really working. The actors really are working hard. Especially Christopher Reeve. He didn't phone in the performance of it.
Well, he never
did.
There
actually are a couple funny scenes in it. There's this one scene where Lois Lane has a date with both Superman and Clark Kent.
Oh.
How's that going to play out? And it's like a sitcom. One of those weird sitcoms where the guy has dates with two girls.
Oh gosh.
But it was funny. I'll give it that. It was pretty funny.
That is funny.
So yeah, Superman 4 falls on my list as one of the worst. I can't watch it, but I can appreciate how bad it is.
I can understand that. All right. Well, my next one, this is my next worst, is Batman and Robin.
Oh, good. We have an agreement.
Okay,
That's
good.
That's actually my number one.
George Clooney, Chris O'Donnell. It was terrible. I'll say, when it came out, I actually did kind of like it, but I was a lot younger, and I enjoyed the campiness of it. In retrospect, though, I'm like, man, that was a horrible movie.
Yeah,
it was bad.
I knew I was in trouble when I went to see it in the theater. I knew I was in trouble from basically the first scene when the Batman and Robin are fighting the escapades, and they're all skating around on the ice and playing hockey, I think, and Batman and Robin. Then you see Mr. Freeze for the first time as Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It just it went wrong on so many levels. I mean, it really, the suit. I mean, I remember that being a big thing. Wasn't that the one where the suit had nipples? For some reason, everybody really zeroed in on the fact that the bat suit had nipples. I'm like, if that's what bothers you the most about this movie, I don't feel sorry for you. There was so much else wrong.
I think it's a bizarre choice.
It really, everything about it was. I think the only thing I thought was really funny was the one campy, and it really would have been funnier if the whole rest of the movie hadn't been super campy. But the part where Robin says, "Holy rusted metal, Batman." And he's like, "What?" And he's like, "There's rusted metal here and it's full of holes." Like, that would have been hilarious.
That was actually from Batman Forever.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. Which is a movie I kind of like. Yeah.
With Val Kilmer.
Yeah, that was something. I know that.
Oh, I got them mixed up. Well, see, that's why I probably liked it, because it was in the other one that I thought Val Kilmer didn't do a bad job as Batman.
I like Batman. It's not one of my favorites, but I like Batman Forever.
I'm getting them mixed up in my head.
Batman and Robin, because I thought Batman and Robin was going to be. So I like Mr. Freeze. Mm-hmm. I thought Uma Thurman was really a good choice for Poison Ivy.
Yeah, she was. I mean, the casting wasn't horrible. It just was, the writing was terrible.
Yeah,
it was just too campy. And I get, they're like, okay, we're doing Batman. And the Batman, the old TV show, was very campy with Adam West, but we'd already moved so far away from campy TV show Batman in the cinematic universe that it just didn't work to kind of go backwards.
Exactly, yeah.
So
it's like they were trying something. And campy can be great. Campy can be a
It
lot of
can
fun,
be, yeah.
but it's also hard to do. And then it is really, I mean, you kind of appreciate the people who can do it well, because when you see it done poorly, you can see how the result turns into a trash can,
Yeah.
that dumpster fire that was Batman and Robin.
Yeah,
I
and that's
really don't have anything good things to say about it, except I thought Uma Thurman was okay as Poison Ivy.
I will say that at that time, well, and even still now, I still think Chris O'Donnell is one of the best looking men alive. And back then, I was like, I just loved Chris O'Donnell. Like that was
I'll
my
take your
pre
word for
Chris
that.
Hemsworth, like.
And he wasn't, and he really wasn't bad as Robin, even in
No,
Batman and Robin.
it was just poorly written. It really was. And you're right, campy is hard to do well and make it really work. And when on those occasions when it's done really well and works, those are magical. But if you don't hit it right, you've lost everything. There's no half doing it.
I mean, the movie looked ugly. It was, yeah. I have nothing good to say. Yeah, I totally agree with that. Was actually number one on my list.
So, well, that was close. That was number 2 on my list. So, you have one more. It would be your number 2, I guess.
My number 2 is X-Men Apocalypse.
Oh,
God, I hated that movie.
I have one particular X-Men movie as my number 1, but I actually kind of list all the X-Men movies as my number 1 with a very special place in hell for Dark Phoenix.
Oh yeah, that was awesome.
But Apocalypse was pretty bad too. That was,
yeah. I mean, the only reason it didn't make number 1 is because of the Quicksilver scene where he saves everybody from.
Yeah, that scene was cool.
That was, and I was watching it. I was like so bored watching the movie, and that scene happened. I was like, why can't the rest of the movie have this
be like
much
that? Yeah. Yeah.
This is awesome. I was smiling. I thought it was great.
So I saw Apocalypse. I flew out to California for work. This is back when I worked for a company that I used to fly from South Carolina to California and stay out there for a couple days and come back. And I had flown out there and I was jet lagged and I was like, I need to try to stay up a little bit longer, so I get on to West Coast time. And I'm like, I'm going to order a pizza because I didn't want to go to the restaurant. And I just order a pizza and go watch this movie. And I think I watched, I kept waking up. I want to see this movie. And then I would fall asleep and I'd wake up and try to watch it. I just could not stay awake. It was so boring.
It was. The thing is, I never really liked Apocalypse, even in the comic books.
Yeah,
his first appearance was pretty good, but they overused him. And I like the actor who played Apocalypse and other stuff. I can't remember his name right now. But yeah, there was just no, except for the Quicksilver scene. There's no anything redeeming in that movie, I thought.
Well, and I have a special dislike for the X-Men movies because while I'm not an avid comic book reader, the X-Men comics are some of the very few ones I've actually read and loved X-Men comics. So I felt like every movie did such a horrible disjustice. I think even the 80s cartoon did a much better job of actually telling the stories than the movies did. So I was really expecting the movies to do better than the cartoon. And instead, it was almost unrecognizable.
Yeah, I have mixed views on the X-Men movies. There are some of them I think Days of Future Past is really good.
That one, I think if you had to pick one that was good, Days of Future Past was good. And it kind of did some retcon, on some of the bad storylines. But other than that.
And I like X2. I like X2 a lot.
Really?
Yeah. The one with Stryker and Magneto and the...
That's where they focus more on the actual school and the students, right? X2 and Wolverine goes and they get Bobby Iceman.
Iceman, yeah. I like X2 a lot.
I liked him, and I love Hugh Jackman as Wolverine. Yeah. I mean, he's great.
I like the Wolverine, which is the second Wolverine movie. X-Men Origins Wolverine almost made my list. So I think that's a horrible movie.
I couldn't even see all of it.
Yeah, but the Wolverine, the second one, I thought was pretty good.
Okay. Logan?
I love Logan.
Logan was very good.
Yeah, Logan's probably the best one of the Wolverine. Definitely the best of the Wolverine movies, and one of the best of the X-Men movies too, I thought. But yeah, the rest of them, I did like First Class. I'm not a big fan. I did like First Class a lot too.
I don't think I ever saw First Class all the way through. Like I really I struggled with the X-Men movies. I and X-Men 3 was so bad. And the Dark Phoenix, I really loved the Dark Phoenix storyline in the comics. Like
Yeah,
it was
it's a
just
classic one.
marvelous. And then the old 80s cartoon did a really good job with it too.
They did.
It
Yeah,
really
I
did.
remember that.
So
Yeah.
I was like, when I first heard, oh, they're going to do Dark Phoenix, and they said in one movie, I was like,
Now, are you talking about the one that just was released, the last one?
no. But
Or are
that
you
is
talking?
my absolute least favorite X-Men movie is the Dark Phoenix that just came out, the most recent one. But X-Men 3 with what's her face as Jean Grey.
Janka, I think her name
Yeah.
is.
Um she I like her as an
Some,
actress, by the way. And I didn't even dislike her as Jean Grey, but X-Men 3 was terrible. I felt like it did a terrible job with the Phoenix storyline. I just felt like it just, oh, I hated that
you know,
movie.
yeah,
But
they said it was the Phoenix, but I don't know. I don't really care. They tried, but there was too
they,
much other stuff going on.
yeah, it just, and it wasn't really, they called her the Phoenix, like you said, but it really wasn't the Phoenix, because
No,
that
no.
all had to do with the outer space and all, yeah. Well, then, Dark Phoenix that came out a couple years ago, I left that theater so disgruntled. Like,
I didn't even see it in the theater. I caught it on like a Saturday afternoon when it was on.
so I had a friend. Well, I still have this friend, but my friend and I were like Marvel and superhero and action movie buddies. It's like we would go see those movies. None of our other friends, they all wanted to go see like rom coms and stuff, and we're like, we're gonna go see, Endgame. We don't have time for that rom com crap, like.
Right.
So she was like, hey, my niece was supposed to go with me to see Dark Phoenix and she can't go. And I'm like, I don't really like the X-Men movie. She's like, oh, please come on, go with me. It's supposed to be really good. And like afterwards,
Who said that?
I was like, why did you do this to me?
She lied to you.
It was so bad. But I will tell you what I liked from Dark Phoenix was the music. The
Oh, I
music from
don't
that
agree.
movie was so good. And in fact, I have it in several playlists now, like for my writing playlist when I'm working on like
Oh,
really
okay.
dramatic scenes. I have that music in those playlists because I just thought the music. So even as we were sitting there watching the movie, I'm like, oh, this music is so good. And she's like, shut up. Like I'm trying to see the movie. I'm like, oh, the music is awesome. But I really, I can't even think of one redeeming moment in that whole movie. I just didn't
I
like
didn't
it.
hate it. I thought it had a couple. See, I think the problem with the Dark Phoenix saga is you have to build it up like the way they did the Infinity Gauntlet
Mm-hmm.
in Avengers. You can't do it in one movie. You have to build up Jean Grey because that's what made it so good in the comics. And granted, I actually have never read the Dark Phoenix saga. It kind of happened before I started collecting, and I haven't read the graphic novel for it yet. But I know it. I know what it's about.
Right. Now,
But
I mean, I came across the X-Men at a
I
kind of,
guess I did see the cartoon yet. So I did see the
yeah,
cartoon.
and I think that's how most people know it. But I actually came across a lot of the X-Men that I did read. I was going through kind of a troubled time with my family, and it was like at that period of time, I got to get out of this house, And I had a friend whose roommate had just left him high and dry, and he's like, "Look, if you can pay the rent, whatever's in that room, it's yours." And I was like, "All right, cool." And the guy had a big box of waterlogged X-Men comics, so they weren't worth anything because they were so damaged, but they were
Right.
still readable. They were still legible. So I think I sat for like 3 days straight. And outside of working, I just read one comic after another. Like I put them all in order and then I just barreled through them. And I mean, so I haven't read like all of the X-Men comics, of course. It was just what was in that box, but it covered a lot of ground. It's too bad that the box was waterlogged because some of these would have been really worth some money.
Yeah, definitely.
Like it was a Dark Phoenix saga and stuff, but they were so damaged, water damaged. But I was like, this score, it was awesome, and I thought these would make great movies. And then when the first movie was coming out, I was so excited because I'm like, finally somebody's done it. And then it was like Rogue was young, and I just no, just no. So I was disappointed, but yeah, I feel like you're right. You're exactly right. That is the problem with the Dark Phoenix saga is you would have to treat it like the Infinity Saga.
Yeah, I mean, maybe not 15 movies, but you have to build up Jean Grey as a character that people care about, so that when she gets corrupted with this Dark Phoenix, you're shocked and
Well, and
you
it
know.
would help to have more background as to what the Dark Phoenix is and how it
Yeah,
came to be.
exactly.
They still don't really explain it. I mean, I think it's like half of a scene, like half a minute,
Right.
where the alien woman's trying to explain it to Jean Grey in Dark Phoenix, and I'm like, this is you don't understand. This thing eats planets. Like it's not a small storyline.
No,
So
no, it'd be one of the things where she would have to get the Phoenix, Dark Phoenix in one movie, and then maybe go another movie where she's getting so corrupted, and then finally hit the actual dark part of the Dark Phoenix saga in a third movie where they have to stop her, which is how the comic book I think played out.
yeah,
Although over I think the course of like 5 years or something. I forget. Because like I said, I never read it, but I know it was
went
over the
on a
course.
long time.
Yeah, it
I
went on a
don't.
long time in the comics. I do know that, but that's what they would have to do, and Fox isn't going to do it. Maybe Marvel will take another go at it now that they own the X-Men.
If
But
Marvel really wanted to, Marvel has an opportunity. I doubt they will, but they really could do another Infinity Saga with the X-Men and do it more justice. And I think they would be pleasantly surprised by how many people would really dial into it,
I
because
agree.
those storylines are really good. But if they keep trying to just force these quickie, treatments of those storylines, they're going to get what they've always gotten, which was people kind of being not dialed in. So
Exactly.
we'll see
So,
how they do.
well, I think I'm done with my list of bad movies.
That was my last one, actually. I feel kind of bad about Watchmen, though, and but I figured that was going to happen, and that's what makes these kind of lists interesting. Is
Yeah.
what one man's garbage is another man's treasure.
So I just want to say my wife liked Watchmen too. So
Really?
maybe you are wrong. I don't know.
I'm probably wrong. I feel like it's
No.
probably me.
You're not wrong. It's all opinion.
Yeah. Well, I think it's funny how I figured we'd have a lot of crossover,
Oh, yeah,
particularly
yeah.
with our top 5, which exactly what I thought was going to happen. So that was awesome. But thanks for bringing all of your comic book knowledge. So I knew that would be really helpful.
Yeah.
So like I said, I had that one little stint of reading the X-Men, and that was it. So
I got to use it for something, I guess.
So another point of reference for the viewers is when we're talking about, I forget which episode it was, but when we were on the Dragon's Rocket Ship podcast, I mentioned something about Thor. We were talking about Thor, and Tim told me about Thunder Frog.
Thunderfrog. Yes.
Thunder Frog, and that just became like a running joke through everything. Thunder Frog. I laughed so hard when Loki turned Thor into a frog, right?
Into a frog, yeah. And then he had to find the hammer, but he met up with other frogs, and he formed like a little frog army. So silly, but it's fantastic. It was and it was a series in the '80s written by Walt Simonson, who, if anyone, I mean, if you really want to get Thor, Walt Simonson has an omnibus with all. He wrote Thor for like I want to say 50, 60 issues.
Wow.
And they're all fantastic. So this kind of came after this really dark saga of Thor. So he wanted to throw some humor into it and lighten things up, and that's why Thunder Frog came about.
Thunder Frog. That just still cracks me up.
He actually has a real name. I don't remember what it is. I always just call him Thunder Frog. That's how I was introduced to him.
I love it. Well, I guess that's it. We've run way over time. Thank you again for coming on the show and talking with me about comic book movies. And then once we wrap this up, though, we are going to play a little game. And I think that it's very fitting. So before we play the game, of course, like, share, subscribe, all the things you're supposed to do on the internet for people that you like. And even people you don't like, it would be nice if you do it anyway. So thanks for joining us, and stick around for our game. Okay, so now we're going to play a game called Kiss, Marry, Kill. And the idea is we will have a list of 3 people, and you have to decide if you would want to kiss that person, marry that person, or kill that person. So I'm going to start with a list for Tim, and he will tell me, out of these 3 people, would he kiss, marry, or kill these people? So kind of straightforward. Okay, my first list is a little kind of on the nose, but Captain America, Iron Man, Thor. Kiss, marry, or kill.
I had a feeling this was going to be the list because I actually have an answer for it.
Oh, okay.
I was thinking about it, so I bet these are going to come up at some point. Because since I would kiss Captain America, because kissing Captain America is like kissing America, and I love America.
I like it.
I
it.
love America, so I have to kiss him.
Makes sense.
I'd marry Iron Man.
Oh, this is going bad for Thor.
Well, yes, I'd marry Iron Man only because he tends to build suits for people he loves, and let's face it, everyone wants an Iron Man suit.
We do all want an Iron Man suit.
Iron Man suit, so I'd marry him for the Iron Man suit.
Oh, poor Thor.
Unfortunately, I'd have to kill Thor. But the good news is, because even if Thor is not dead, whoever wields the hammer still has the power of Thor.
That's true.
So technically, he could come back to life.
But I'm really only going to be happy if Thor looks like Chris Hemsworth.
Because if he comes back, because he can come back, you can be worthy, grab the hammer, you can become Thor if you want to.
I would rather watch Chris Hemsworth be Thor. Because that's kind of the appeal.
It's kind of the appeal. That's my list right there.
All right. Well, for me, I would kiss Captain America. And I like the same reason. I love America too.
America, yeah.
I would marry Thor.
Of course, that doesn't surprise me.
Because it's Thor. And then I could kiss him all the time. And then I'd kill Iron Man. But mainly because Iron Man dies anyway.
Right, he's already dead. So.
You know what I mean? What are you going to do?
You're not going to do much with that.
That's right.
I came up with 3 people. Hopefully, they're not the same 3 people you did.
Okay, I doubt the next list will be the same. So
yeah, they're sort of people though.
Oh, okay.
They're sort of because Groot,
okay,
Rocket Raccoon, or Drax.
Oh man. Okay. Kiss, marry, kill. Groot, Rocket, or Drax. Oh gosh. I guess I would kiss Groot because he's just adorable.
Like a nature thing there.
I would probably marry Rocket because at least he would understand my jokes. And sorry, Drax. Drax has to die by default.
By default? Poor Drax.
As a toss-up to marry, I would either want to marry Drax or Rocket, but Rocket can make cool weapons and he's going to get my jokes. The Drax will not get my jokes. So
that's true.
He has to go.
A little bit too literally.
Yep. Well, what would you do with that list?
I actually agree with you. Kiss Groot because you're kissing nature.
There you go.
Yeah. I'm a nature lover. It's like tree hugging, except you take it, the second base.
Kind of, yeah.
I'd probably marry Drax because he will protect you.
That's true. Very protective.
I mean, the humor thing though, I'd probably find it more funny than he would, but
you'd probably live longer. To be honest,
live longer, most definitely, yeah.
Yeah.
And I guess that means Rocket has to be killed.
It's kind of process of elimination.
Yeah, which is a shame because I like Rocket.
Yeah.
Honestly, Rocket would be annoying after a while. Insulting you all the time.
I think you like him better in Guardians of the Galaxy 2. I have a little more compassion for him because you learn a little bit more, But yeah, I could see that. He can be annoying. Okay, you ready for my second list for you?
I'm ready for second one, yes.
Okay, this one I worked a little harder on, right? Kiss, marry, kill. Jared Leto's Joker, Heath Ledger's Joker, or Jack Nicholson's Joker.
Ooh.
I was quite proud of myself for thinking of that.
Well, I mean, I know who I would kill because we've already discussed Jared Leto as a Joker, so he's gone.
Toast.
Well, I'd probably kiss Heath Ledger's Joker. Just to feel the scars. Try to figure out how he got them. Give me a clue on how he got them.
That's right.
And I'd probably marry Jack because I met Jack Nicholson's Joker is at least pretty funny.
Yeah, he is.
He looked like he would be a good guy to go out with on a beer run or something. hang out at the bar with.
Yeah.
He'd kill everybody in the bar, but at least he'd have a lot of fun.
I can see that.
Just don't take him to the art museum. He doesn't like.
No, that wouldn't work. That wouldn't go well. No. Well, I mean, my list then would be very similar. I would probably I mean, let's just be completely honest. I'd probably kiss Jack Nicholson's Joker, because he's kind of like the least evil in that sense. I would have to marry Heath Ledger's Joker because he's at least interesting. And it's Heath Ledger, even if he is the
That's
Joker,
Heath
right? And then I would happily murder Jared Leto's Joker. I hate that iteration of the Joker.
Not a good Joker.
He's not. And I was talking to somebody else earlier tonight because I was talking about doing this. And he was like, why don't you like Jared Leto as the Joker? I really like him. I was like, what? We can't even be friends anymore. Like,
and again, it sucks because I like Jared Leto as an
I would say
actor,
he's a good actor. It's
Yeah,
nothing against Jared Leto himself. I just don't like this iteration of the Joker.
No, I agree.
So,
Okay, so you ready for my last three?
okay, yeah.
I came up with right now.
I'm ready.
Loki, Thanos, or Ronan.
Oh. Okay. This is another one of the process of elimination. So, I would kiss Ronan.
Oh, okay, interesting.
And I just because I want to save murder for Thanos. And then I'd want to marry Loki to keep him alive because I like Loki. Even though this is something that I find really interesting, like people like Loki and they kind of root for him. He is still a bad guy. Like
He's still pretty.
he's killed a lot of people.
Necessarily.
A lot of innocent people died because of Loki, but it's hard not to like him still. So I would probably marry Loki and then murder Thanos because it's Thanos.
I know. He process of elimination. I probably did the exact same thing.
I mean, Ronan's awful, so it's hard not to want to murder him too. But at least it's not the entire half of the universe.
Yeah, Ronan's a bit intense, so he probably wouldn't be a fun marriage partner to spend the rest of your life with. He's a bit on the intense side.
Yeah, you just want to kiss him.
Yeah, just like little casual stuff on the side.
Yeah.
Nothing too serious. At least Loki would be fun.
Yeah, he would be
At least,
fun.
you
If
get
Loki
lots of
likes you,
people
he's
to have
good.
And yeah, you don't want Thanos around for any longer than he needs to be.
No, Thanos has to go. That was pretty good. That's a good one. I started to do one that was just villains too. Like I thought
I'm
about
trying
that.
to think of the three villains we talked about on our list, and those were the 3.
Mhm.
All 3 of them came up, so I figured it'd be good.
That was a good one. That was a good one. So, well, there we go. There's our game. And this is not a win or lose game, though. So the game is its own reward.
Just playing.
I may still send you a consolation prize, though, for having had to play a game with me. That's the only other thing I didn't think about when I was doing this, because we're doing this remotely. I can't hand you a sticker, So sorry.
You can send stickers on Facebook pages. So
That's right. That's right.
Just put it there or something.
That's what I'll do when this goes live. I'll get you a sticker on Facebook.
Awesome. I'm looking forward to it.
So thanks for joining me, Tim.
Thank you for having me.
Appreciate it. It was good to see you again too. We hadn't talked in a long time, so this was awesome. And then thank you for watching, everybody. Again, please like, share, subscribe, and don't forget to leave your comments about our list. What did you agree with? What didn't you agree with? Where were we totally off base? Who did we forget that we should have put on our worst list? And who did we forget we should have put on our best list? Looking forward to hearing about that. And also interested in who you would kiss, marry, and kill on those lists. So let us know in the comments, and we'll see you soon.
All right, take it easy. Talk to you guys later.
Hang tight.